Hey everyone, Mr. MC here. This is the guide for Dragon Trail Seaside with the MOTUL AUTECH GTR. Let's get this started. Take this right turn flat out, stay to the right side of the track, and brake just before the curb on the right starts. You're going to be braking hard for a short while, and you can use the curbs to open yourself up for this turn. Slowly ease off of the brakes, get the car pointing towards the next apex, then lift off auto throttle and take advantage of this curb. Do be careful because if you accelerate too much on the right curb, then you do risk spinning out. Then take this right turn flat out and look for a patch of grass on the left as you want to brake before it starts. You're going to brake hard for a short moment, take your time easing off of the brakes. Let the car do the rotation and slowly accelerate. Be careful on the curbs as well because the car can spin out there if you're too aggressive. Lift off auto throttle for this turn, and if you do it right, you can take the rest of the S's flat out. Your next braking point is just after the curb starts or just after the 150 meter mark. Start to brake on the tarmac, so do not start braking on the curbs. Then slowly ease off the brakes as you turn in. Nice and careful on the throttle as it's really easy to spin out here if you're too aggressive on the throttle. Take this first chicane flat out, and thanks to this car's crazy downforce, it is possible to take the chicane of death flat out as well. You're going to turn in just as you pass the track marshals on the right, and still go through it flat out. Make small adjustments, try to take the chicane of death flat out in as straight of a line as possible, and just try to avoid hitting the walls. Over here, I got really close to hitting the wall on the left. And your final braking point is going to be before you pass the 100 meter mark. Brake hard for a short while and slowly ease off of the brakes. Just try to bring yourself towards the inside of the turn. Nice and careful out of the turn so you don't spin out. But that is pretty much it for this lap guide. Let's go ahead and take a look at the strategies. And as we transition over to the race strategies, we are doing 13 laps at Dragon Trail Seaside with Group 2 cars. Both the racing medium and hard tires are available for this race, and both tires are required for this race, so you will have to do at least one pit stop and just try to use the racing medium and hard tires at some point in the race so you don't get a 1 minute penalty after the race ends. And as you saw right now, there are a lot of Nissan MOTUL AUTECH GTRs, and this is going to pretty much be your go-to car. The other alternative is the newer Lexus RCF, which is, it's not the best car, but it is a little more stable. So we're just going to go ahead and enjoy our nice little Sunday drive down the main street. Just be a little careful as you go through your first lap, as your tires will be a little cold. Give them around half a lap before they warm up, and then you can start to push. And I gotta admit, it was pretty funny seeing all of that happen. Just a really weird start, someone getting stuck in the pit stop before the race even started, and Windfire, he just flies away like the wind, and I ended up starting the race 4 seconds behind him. This is not the way the race should start, but it was still really funny to see, and this was actually the first time I've seen this sort of thing happen in all my time playing this game. But going back over to the race information, the fuel consumption rate is at ×2, so you don't have to worry about refueling, and the tire wear rate is at ×7. So the tire wear will start to kick in at around lap 5, and by the time that you're at the end of laps 7, 8, or 9, then you should be pitting around that range. It's all going to come down to how you feel about your tires. Can your car still keep going on worn racing medium tires? That is up to you. Do be careful about pitting in early because that does mean that you do face the risk of pitting out into traffic from those who haven't pitted yet. So you do want to consider that as well, and just keep that on your mind when it's time to pit. And we skipped on over to the end of lap 9, and we're going to pit in on this lap to switch on over to the racing hard tires and get that tire requirement out of the way. So in a bit we're going to pit, and the pit stop entry is just after the final turn. Just bring yourself over to the right and you pretty much enter the pit stop. We are going to end up losing around 9 seconds because we are pitting at the start of the big main straight, and we do have to take time to try to accelerate, try to catch up, or try to catch up to the pace of those who haven't pitted yet. And this 9-stop pit loss is pretty much going to solidify that this is going to be a 1-stop race. If you try to do a 2-stop, you'll be a bit slower because of the additional pit loss time from the extra pit stop, but you do spend more time on the racing medium tires, which is more fun. And a couple last things before I go ahead and sign off now. We are in high downforce cars, so whenever you are within 3/4 of a second behind the car in front of you, you're going to be experiencing the dirty air, and that's really going to affect you as you go through the turns. So for example, the S's we just went through, you will have to lift off of the throttle a bit more to make sure you don't end up understeering into the wall. When you go through the chicane of death, you want to lift off of the throttle as well, especially if you're under the dirty air, so you don't end up hitting the wall. Speaking of the chicane of death, it is possible to go through this flat out. As you saw right now, it is incredibly scary and sketchy, and it had me screaming for all 13 laps. So if you are really crazy or confident, you can try to go through the chicane of death flat out. If you want to be a little more safe, then you can do a small lift, and that will allow the car to be able to turn in a bit more. But you just want to be careful if you do that so you don't turn in too much and end up hitting the wall anyways. And if you're still somehow under the slipstream, still within the 3/4 of a second gap between yourself and the car ahead of you, the slipstream will help you out when you're on the straights or the high-speed sections. So you'll be able to quickly catch up to the cars in front of you, and that can give you an opportunity to try to get an overtake done. So let's go ahead and take a look at the best places to try to make an overtake happen. The main straight is probably going to be the most obvious one, as you are on a really long straight, and the slipstream can really help you speed up and catch up to the cars in front of you. And just try to overtake them just before you brake. Try to secure the inside line, and hopefully they'll back out of it and give you the position. And before we go on to the next best place to try to get an overtake done, I do want to show where the penalty serving zone is. There's only one here on Drunken Trail Seaside, and it is on the top of the hill on the top section of the track. So we just went through the penalty serving zone right now. You won't lose too much time if you do have to serve a penalty, but you're in pretty fast cars, so you want to make sure that you don't get a penalty so you don't lose all of that speed. The next place to get an overtake done is right here. We do have a hairpin, a very hard braking zone, so if you're able to get a good run on the opponent ahead of you, then you can try to make an overtake happen there. And also, please do not go too wide into the chicane of death, because if you go too wide into the chicane of death, both of you are just going to end up bending it and hit this. Just don't do it, please. But anyways, this is the last section where you can get an overtake done, and there's actually quite a few places where you can make an overtake happen, so take advantage of it if it's possible. But that is pretty much it for this guide. Once again, this is a 1-stop race. If you're starting on the racing medium tires, go for 7 to 9 laps and then change over to the hard tires. If you're starting on the hard tires, go 4 to 6 laps on them and then change on over to the racing medium tires. If you're crazy, take the chicane of death flat out. If not, then do a little lift off of the throttle so you can maneuver around a little bit more. But that is all from me. If you like this video, if you like this guide, you can press the like button and press the subscribe button and all that good stuff. I have a Patreon which you can check out in the description down below. And we're really close to 10k subs. Oh gosh, that's I can't believe that we're actually almost there. But we'll talk a bit more about that in a few days potentially, or a week. But yeah, anyways, that's all from me. I'm going to sign off now. So this is MSMCA. Try not to hit the chicane of death, and I'll see you in the next video.